Our story begins in an ancient land, beside a large body of water known as the Sea of Galilee. It was a bustling place in the region of Israel, where many people lived and worked, especially as fishermen. This particular day had been long and busy, filled with many teachings and gatherings, as was often the case for a special group of friends and their leader. In those times, life was often centered around small villages and the rhythms of nature. People traveled on foot or by boat. Before the events of our story, the teacher, Jesus, had just performed an amazing act, feeding many thousands of people with only a small amount of food. After this, he encouraged his closest companions, who were called disciples, to get into a boat and go ahead of him to the other side of the lake. Among these companions was a man named Peter. Peter was a fisherman by trade, accustomed to the sea and its ways. He was also a devoted follower of Jesus, known for his earnestness and sometimes his quick decisions. Along with the other disciples, he spent his days traveling with Jesus, listening to his teachings, and observing his actions, learning much about kindness and faith. So, as evening fell, the disciples, including Peter, set out in their boat across the Sea of Galilee. This was a familiar journey for them. They had sailed these waters many times. Jesus, meanwhile, went up a mountain by himself to spend time in quiet prayer. The disciples were in their usual setting, a boat on the water, a stable and familiar sight for them, even as night deepened around them. During their journey, while it was still dark, a strong wind began to blow. The boat was far from shore, and the waves grew large, making their progress difficult. It was then, in the early hours of the morning, that the disciples saw a figure walking on the water towards them. They were confused and concerned. But the figure spoke, saying, "Take courage. It is I, do not be afraid." Peter, recognizing the voice, responded, "Lord, if it is you, tell me to come to you on the water." Jesus simply said, "Come." This was the moment Peter received a direct instruction. Immediately, Peter began to act upon this instruction. He stepped out of the boat, onto the surface of the water. With each step, he moved towards Jesus. The other disciples watched from the boat as Peter, a man accustomed to fishing from the water, was now walking on it, seemingly defying the natural way of things, all because of a simple invitation. However, as Peter walked, he began to notice the strong wind and the powerful waves all around him. The initial sense of wonder started to fade, and a feeling of uncertainty began to appear within him. He looked away from Jesus, focusing instead on the challenging conditions of the storm. As a result, fear started to grow in his heart, making the task seem impossible. At this very point, the situation changed dramatically. As Peter's attention shifted to the wind and waves, and fear took hold, he began to sink into the water. In that urgent moment, he cried out to Jesus, "Lord, save me." Without hesitation, Jesus immediately reached out his hand and caught Peter. This swift act of help from Jesus was the key turning point. It directly addressed Peter's struggle and shifted the immediate danger. As Jesus helped Peter back onto the surface, he gently asked him why he had doubted. Together, Jesus and Peter climbed back into the boat with the other disciples. The moment they were safely inside, the wind ceased. The sea became calm, and the rocking of the boat stopped. The disciples in the boat were filled with amazement and wonder at everything they had just witnessed. From that night forward, the disciples, and Peter especially, carried the memory of what had happened. They continued their journey across the Sea of Galilee, now in quiet and safety. This event helped them understand more about Jesus' abilities and the nature of his guidance. Their experiences with him grew, adding depth to their understanding of their teacher's power over the elements. This story shows us something important. When we focus on what is certain and steady, we can achieve things that seem difficult. But if we allow distractions and fears to pull our attention away, challenges can seem much greater. Peter learned the importance of keeping his attention fixed on Jesus, showing how much trust matters in moments of doubt. With the wind now calm and the journey peaceful, the boat continued its way towards the shore. The morning light would soon break, and the events of the night would become a significant memory for all who were there. The sea, once turbulent, now gently carried them to their destination, bringing a quiet end to a remarkable night.